Close your eyes and picture a Viking. What do you see? A towering figure with a horned helmet, a wild beard, and a massive axe, right? A ferocious warrior stepping off a longship, ready to plunder. Well, get ready to have your mind blown, because much of what we think we know about Vikings is pure myth, a mix of Hollywood fantasy and centuries of misunderstanding. Today, we're going on a real journey back in time. We're going to strip away the clichés and uncover the true story of the Vikings. A story that's far more complex, fascinating, and surprising than any legend. Who were they really? Were they just bloodthirsty raiders, or was there more to them? Let's find out together. The story of the Vikings begins in Scandinavia, modern-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. This was a harsh, rugged land of deep fjords, dense forests, and long, dark winters. Before they were Vikings, they were the Norse people. They were farmers, fishers, and traders living in small, tight-knit communities. Life was tough. They had to be resilient, resourceful, and incredibly skilled just to survive. They were master woodworkers, expert sailors, and deeply connected to the natural world around them. Their society was built on a strong code of honor, loyalty to family and chieftains, and a rich tapestry of myths and legends about gods like Odin, Thor, and Loki. This wasn't a land of savages. It was a sophisticated society with its own laws, art, and traditions. So what turned these farmers and fishermen into the most feared seafarers of their age? Around the end of the 8th century, something changed. Historians debate the exact reasons. Was it overpopulation in their homelands? A quest for wealth and new trade routes? A reaction to the expansion of other European kingdoms? Or maybe just a thirst for adventure? Whatever the spark, the Norse people took to the seas, and this is where the Viking Age truly begins. Their secret weapon was the longship. This wasn't just a boat. It was a masterpiece of naval engineering. Long, narrow, and light, with a shallow draft. It could sail across the stormy North Sea and then navigate far upriver, striking deep into the heart of unsuspecting lands. It was fast, flexible, and could carry dozens of warriors. With these incredible vessels, the Norse people burst onto the world stage, and the name Viking, which originally meant something like a person on an expedition or raider, would soon become infamous across Europe. The first major recorded Viking raid was in 793 AD at the monastery of Lindisfarne off the coast of England. For the Christian monks there, it was like a scene from the apocalypse. Ships appeared from nowhere, warriors stormed the holy site, and the monastery, a center of wealth and learning, was plundered. This event sent shockwaves across Christendom. It was the beginning of an era of fear. Vikings weren't just raiding, they were strategic. They targeted monasteries and churches because they were often poorly defended and filled with gold, silver, and other treasures. For the next 2 centuries, Viking longships would terrorize coastlines from England and France to Spain and Italy. They were fast, brutal, and unpredictable. But to only see them as raiders is to miss half the story. While some Vikings went raiding, many others were explorers and merchants. The same longships that carried warriors also carried goods, families, and livestock. They were pioneers, pushing the boundaries of the known world. Vikings established vast and complex trade networks that stretched from the freezing waters of the North Atlantic to the bustling markets of Constantinople, which they called Miklagard, the Great City. They traded furs, amber, and walrus ivory for silk, spices, and silver from the Byzantine and Islamic worlds. They didn't just smash and grab, they bought and sold. They founded cities that are still major centres today, like Dublin in Ireland and Kyiv in modern-day Ukraine. These weren't just pirate outposts, they were cosmopolitan hubs of commerce and culture, where different peoples and ideas mixed, and their spirit of exploration was legendary. A Norwegian Viking named Eric the Red, exiled from Iceland for manslaughter, set sail west into the unknown and discovered a vast icy land. To attract settlers, he gave it a clever marketing name, Greenland. It worked. Norse colonies were established and survived there for centuries. But the story doesn't end there. His son, Leif Erikson, went even further. Around the year 1000, almost 500 years before Christopher Columbus, Leif Erikson and his crew landed on the shores of North America. They called it Vinland, the land of vines, probably because of the wild grapes they found. They even established a small settlement. Imagine that. Vikings in America, centuries before anyone else from Europe. Archaeological evidence found in Newfoundland, Canada, proves their presence. They were truly the first European explorers of the New World. So, what was life actually like in a Viking settlement? Forget the barbaric chaos. Viking society was surprisingly organized. It was structured around family and loyalty. While they had kings and powerful chieftains, or jarls, there was also a strong democratic element. Free men would gather at assemblies called things to make laws, settle disputes, and make important decisions for the community. It was an early form of parliament. And what about Viking women? They had far more rights and freedoms than most other women in Europe at the time. They could own property, inherit land, run the farm when their husbands were away trading or raiding, and even divorce their husbands. There are also tales of shield maidens, female warriors who fought alongside men, though the historical evidence for them is still debated. It was a society where everyone had a role to play, and resilience was key. Let's debunk some more myths. First, the horned helmets. There is absolutely zero archaeological evidence that Vikings ever wore horned helmets into battle. It's a pure fantasy, likely invented by a costume designer for a 19th century opera. In reality, they wore simple leather or iron helmets, if they wore one at all. Second, the idea that they were all dirty and unkempt. Excavations of Viking sites have found countless grooming tools, combs, tweezers, ear spoons. The Vikings were actually quite concerned with their hygiene and appearance. One English chronicler even complained that their habit of combing their hair, bathing weekly, and changing their clothes regularly made them unfairly attractive to English women. They weren't just warriors. They were poets, artists, and incredible craftspeople. Their intricate wood carvings, beautiful jewelry, and powerful epic poems, known as sagas, show a deep appreciation for art and storytelling. The end of the Viking Age wasn't a sudden collapse, but a gradual transformation. By the 11th century, the world was changing. The kingdoms of Europe grew stronger and better at defending themselves. The Old Norse religion began to fade as Christianity spread throughout Scandinavia. Viking leaders became Christian kings, and their societies started to look more like the rest of feudal Europe. The age of raiding slowly gave way to an age of nation building. The descendants of the Vikings became the Danes, the Norwegians, the Swedes, and the Icelanders of today. But their impact was permanent. They left their mark on language. Words like sky, egg, knife, and even Thursday, named after Thor, come from Old Norse. They influenced political boundaries, established trade routes, and expanded the map of the known world. The Vikings were not simple brutes. They were a complex and dynamic people. They were brutal raiders, yes, but they were also savvy traders, daring explorers, skilled artisans, and pioneering settlers. They were a force of nature that reshaped the world, driven by a combination of necessity, ambition, and an unquenchable spirit of adventure. Their story is a powerful reminder that history is never black and white. So the next time you picture a Viking, maybe you'll see something different. Not just a horned helmet and an axe, but the face of an explorer staring at a new horizon, a merchant haggling in a bustling market, and a farmer building a home in a new land. They were a people who sailed off the edge of the map and into legend. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the real world of the Vikings. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into history. What part of the Viking story surprises you the most? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.